Hello everyone, welcome back to the SMITE Guides to Ymir. Now this is Slash, obviously. I started this series with Clash, so this is actually going to be the only, one of the few characters. I suppose I could probably make a comparison with Khepri and a couple of the other Guardians that I've done with Clash, but back to the main point. Guardian Ymir, right? Yeah, that's fine. I can play specifically Guardian Ymir. Now, this is actually a very interesting point, and Lady Yaga is showing a large amount of awareness here, which is impressive, that Ymir can be built in a variety of ways. This is actually something that I was going to speak upon, is that there's also, to some extent, whether or not you build Gilded Arrow, as I've been talking about, really, at least in Slash, really depends on whether or not your team needs the damage. Now, in this particular team composition, that's not really going to be true here. Now, if we were short on damage, say, there was a second warrior or a second guardian, or if I thought there was even a hint of Cleodna building hybrid, I would probably splash in Gilded Arrow to kind of make up for that, but clearly based on the Cleodna's question, that's there. She, I'm going to assume it's a she based on the name and the character, pardon me if that's wrong, but it does appear that she's more in line with damage. Also, notice that I have changed up a lot of my build here. This is me recreating my build. Obviously, every new season I do this. This is based on testing. I still haven't figured out what I want my last item down at the bottom to be, although I think I'm going to go with, what do you call that? Pridwin. That's it. Down there as well, because even though I think it's over-purchased, there are some use cases for that. I'm also going to go with, Gauntlet of Thebes as well. So, notice I picked up Meditation first. This really helps in the opening battle, especially when it's upgraded, which allows you to use it more often, which is pretty huge. As well as just overall having a much better, more effective time here with it. Alright, nothing really happened there. Sometimes there's a really huge fight there in the middle, but not this time. Can we take advantage of this? No. We got some poke on him, but nothing really serious. I'm trying to figure out what in Tarnation Tyr thinks he's doing. Don't do it. Alright. We're gonna go ahead and med this up here. Partially because I need mana, partially because Cleodna needs health. I'm going to upgrade my freeze first, because again, we are looking for, I am looking to do that more serious support. Cleodna is building pretty much pure damage so far. She'll probably splash in a hybrid item or two if she's really aware. But one of the things that you have to be aware of with Tyr in Slash as opposed to Clash is that now your wall is a lot more effective, since typically, at least in the late game, there's a decent amount of fighting in the jungle, although I've seen some games where I've done an extensive amount of fighting in the jungle in the early game as well. It really depends. I'm just trying to make sure that we're balanced out here. They're not going to need me over here. That was a really good ambush. Oh, so close. That's bad, that's bad. Yeah, that was a good trap they set up there. I was not paying enough attention to where the enemy Ymir was. Grab this. And then we head back out there. That was a mistake on my part and Cleodna's part. We were not paying enough attention to the presence of the enemy Ymir. we actually really could do with some wards here. Now, as important as wards were a lot of times in a lot of Clash games, they're even more important here in Slash. Just keep that in mind, that this is actually very important. Also, keep in mind, I did not build the war flag because, or the war banner, I believe it's actually the earlier version is called, specifically because we didn't have enough auto attackers. Actually, to be completely honest, I'm the only one with decent auto attacks due to my passive. And that was absolutely not going to justify the purchase of war flag, war banner, or whatever it's called. No. Persephone going a little gung-ho there. Interesting. Get some healing here. Heal up everyone here. Left lane is fine. Not really sure what Cleodin is doing over there. A bit risky. Persephone is becoming very predictable. I need to head over here and prevent this from... no, we're going to actually fight this over here, I think. What are we doing? No, that lane should be fine. The tier was just solo farming over there a little bit. He is continuing to try to push that up. Hello. Interesting choice. Our allies are really scattered around here. He knows she's in there. Can she get out? No, she cannot. We did not need Morgana to go in there, but she got out. Alright. We're fine. We're fine. That's fine. Get rid of you. I have no mana. Alright. I'm probably going to die here because I was busy saving, or trying to save tier. Yeah, I died there. That's fine. That's fine. We're going to go very hardcore on protections. I actually want to get a Heart Order Amulet and get up to, not this one. But I need wards first. The problem here primarily is that we're not really coordinated. We're not communicating. I don't really have any good lead-ins here. I'm going to need Blink as well at some point. Luna really should be here helping me with this. Oh, there we go. Alright, notice I'm building up the wall next. Primarily because... Hello. Okay. Interesting play. I was hoping I could catch Cthulhu in that, but I clearly could not. Let's go ahead and heal you up here. Alright. Nope, that's fine. And she's dead, yeah. She's being far too aggressive for what we're at currently. We're too far behind for that kind of nonsense. Alright. What are we doing here? Okay, nothing. That's fine. Take this a bit slower. Alright. That's fine. Alright. Go on ahead and go back for that mana buff. Cthulhu. You should have said something.
Okay.
She just launches an ability at me and too late even? Okay, that's Cthulhu being very aggressive. We can actually pick something up here. Nope. Tyr waited too long. Okay. Why is he diving so deep for this? There was no reason he needed to dive that deep for that. Okay, good. At least we picked that up. Okay. The problem is, that was a prime example, actually, of what our problem is as a team. We are not even remotely coordinated. I mean, people were going in. I was not ready. The tier waited too long to backslap the, or push the Cthulhu deeper under tower. Cthulhu isn't... Well, he's got Breastplate of Valor, I suppose, so there is that. But still, just way too much aggression for how far behind we are. We need to be luring them under tower. We had Cthulhu under tower. We had the opportunity there to kill Cthulhu even before he ulted. We probably could have killed him before he ulted, or at least got him low enough where we could finish him post-ult. But we were not coordinated enough for that. And now they've got a Juggernaut, and we're going to have to deal with this thing while being 8 kills down. I mean, compare me to Cthulhu right now. I am 3 levels down. And this is not going to get better for me as a support. Holy cow. Alright. Okay. We can get rid of this really quick. Good. Okay, we have an opportunity here, I think. You're gonna dive this for me? Oh no, you're going over here. Which is absolutely fine with me. He's trying to kill me first. The tier picked me up. Can they pick up the Cthulhu? This is going to be the significant question. We're going to go ahead and go with that. Yeah, they took our tower. We were decently coordinated that time, but still, we're not playing well enough at this point. They are pushing up right now because they actually can't afford to, but they're splitting off now, and Tiamat's by herself over there. If she'd been hit by that ult, she'd be dead right now. It's just so uncoordinated. If you can coordinate in Slash, you have a huge advantage. And the enemy team is coordinating a lot better than we are. We're not matching that coordination. I completely whiffed that, but I was not expecting it to turn around quite that quickly. And again, we're going after Cthulhu of all people here. Which does not make sense. He is their tank. That is his job. You are falling right into their plan. They want you to attack Cthulhu at this point. We need to wipe out their damage first. Okay. That was not quite the wall I was hoping it would be. I was at the wrong angle for that. Alright, at least I made him have to think about that a little bit. There we go. Didn't mean to actually kill him, but I didn't think that we were necessarily going to pick that up any other way. We needed to just get rid of him and move on exactly like that. There we go. Alright. Get rid of this really quick. No, you're not. Alright, that's fine. I don't mind whiffing that if it means that at the very least, Cleodno will not get absolutely murdered. That's not really the biggest of my concerns right at this moment. Can we do something about this? That was an interesting choice. Ah, I'm not fast enough yet. Shoot. Alright, we need to get out of here. Oh, alright. I'm dead here. Absolutely guaranteed. Interesting that they chose to focus me. Alright. That's fine. If we can capitalize on this. Which it does not look like we are doing. If they can keep them busy in left, because right now they have all 4 of them in left. The Siege Juggernaut can take right lane, which is pretty huge. But they need to keep that pressure on. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. That's good. And then I teleport to the Siege Juggernaut. Okay, one of them is missing. I'll go ahead and clear this wave, but I'm not really going to have much else to do here. Cleona just came up, so never mind. I'll just use my ult to flee that. Oh, is she in there? She's not in there. That's fine. That doesn't matter. We need to take this tower next. Put us up by a tower. There we go. Okay, good response, good response. Okay, that's Scotty's ult down. Interesting pathing there. Yeah, we don't need this fight right now. Scotty is just distracting us from the fact that all of them are back up and they're going to be fresher than we are. Not sure where Tira's going. What I'm going to do is specifically stand guard. Never mind, they're already done with it. Okay. Forget about it. Oh, that's beads. Okay. Not a single auto attack from Tiamat. Okay. Single auto. Well, 1 or 2 auto attacks probably could have saved me. Not necessarily a single one. But. Boy. I'm gonna have to go into even heavier protections. I'm gonna go right into Breastplate of Determination here, and then I'm going to probably finish up with Pestilence. Actually, I should probably get Pestilence first, to be completely honest. I think that's going to be a little bit more important for me to get now. I'm still going to want wards. Now, right now, we're having a moderately... No, we're going to lose that fight. That is a fight we are losing. I died first in that fight. I was the first death in that fight, which removed our front line. They probably should have backed up. It may look like we came out of that okay. We lost 2 for 1, so that it was a fight we lost. Oh, she actually turned that around. Okay. I'm very impressed with that. I'm surprised she was able to pull that off. She should not be here. She should be leaving. She shouldn't be leaving there. I was going to say. Yeah, you're being chased by Cthulhu. I don't think he's going to catch up to you, but he's chasing you. Yeah, he's given up on that. Alright, if he had continued traveling that direction, I would have stunned him, which was what I needed. The fact that he turned around, I didn't even need to freeze him then. If he turned around like that. What are you doing? What do you have that... Yeah, that's fine. We have the advantage here. No. We don't need him. He's distracting us. Oh, come on. That's her ult down, at the very least. Can we not... What I want to do is get Pestilence. Ah, shoot. I timed that wrong. I should have been earlier. I should have been faster. Alright, now I have to hurry up and get there. Before we start losing the fight too severely. Right now it's a 5v4 until I get there. Which is not what we want to see. T-Mat's missing, so actually it's a 3v4 right now? We just bounce around this ice for years. It's fine. Really. That's good, because now we can finally get team effort here. I want to know where their 5th is. There's Scotty. Can we just pop over there and kill her really quick? Tyr's in a good position for this. You beads. That was a good beads. That was... okay. Alright. Trying to figure out what Tiamat's doing. Tiamat shouldn't be there. Alright. Tyr has me, that's fine. That actually hit him. He walked through that because he was that much in a hurry. Okay. I have Morgana here. That's something, at least. I am beginning to reach levels of tankiness that they're having a hard time dealing with, which is kind of what I want. Notice how little damage I'm taking right now from a lot of their abilities. Excellent. That was pretty huge. Shoot. Excellent. That was huge. The fact that we got her that easily. Because she was busy chasing down Morgana. Your thorns are not really going to help you. Thorns are still trash, honestly. You thought. That's fine. Can we at least take the tower, though? You're both out of the tower, so I really don't need to be tanking this. I need to be getting out of here. They're going to get killed. But I don't have the health to help them right now. They did get out, though. I mean, I'm not too surprised they got out. Tyr is tanky enough where he should have been able to get out without that much trouble anyways in the first place. And Cleodna has the ability to go through walls, so she had a pretty safe escape route since it's pretty tough to follow her through walls anyways. We're looking a little too aggressive here. Well, no, we're turning it around pretty nicely. I've actually almost caught up to Cthulhu. Most of our... I just caught up to Cthulhu. We're all level 20. They're all level 20 except for Tyr. And Persephone, actually. So we're slightly ahead at this point, which reflects the one extra kill we have. Uh-huh. Nope, we're fine. We really need to kill the dog, though. I don't think that's a good idea. Fine. Yeah, as I thought, this was a terrible idea. Can we kill Tyr? No. Who can we kill? We have no good opportunities. There's no good inroads into this fight. There is now. Holy cow, she's insane. Let me heal you up really quick, because you're about to get slapped by Cthulhu. Okay, good. That was a good escape. This ult means nothing because I can silver around here and it means absolutely nothing. Yes, I'm getting slapped by Cthulhu. That's fine. Does not actually matter. Hey, Scotty. Being a pain in the neck again, eh? Now I'm taking some pretty serious damage. Tyr popped in to take on the heat, which was really nice of him. Okay. Didn't need that in my life, but sure. Can we go around and do something about him, please? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you. Shoot. Oh, that was a spicy blink wall. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to get rid of that. We don't need that right now. Okay. I slowed her, but I'm not sure how much that matters. Okay, at least I picked that up. I now need to get out of here alive somehow. Ah. I'm not fast enough for that. Get rid of that at the very least. Which seems to have confused you somehow, which is fairly interesting. I don't know how you got up to full health almost, but out of my way. No kidding. Oh, you've got massive lifesteal out of... Okay, that's fine. I am stunned that I made it out of that. You're fine, guy. Alright. Alright, now I've got maxed maxed protections. Alright then. Nice miss. That's fine. I'll just back up a little bit, and she'll die for no reason. Cool. I have met up in 3, which will make it surprisingly difficult for them to eliminate us. There we go. No, that's fine. Alright. Not bad. If we can kill Persephone, that would be a big help. You goof that slightly. I want to get rid of those protections right there. Ra is a problem. But we're fine. Scotty is a bigger problem. We just slide around on ice again for 12 years. It's fine. Oh, right, I was too short on that, but that's okay. We get this spicy juggernaut. They don't need me to actually damage, they just need me to keep the enemy off. That's what my goal there was. Alright. Yeah, that's fine. What are you doing, guy? Why does everyone keep triggering Apophis as they're passing by? It's like, leave him alone. Well, you have mystical mail, so that actually makes sense. But, like, Tiamat did the same thing earlier. I'm gonna go ahead and go back and... What are we doing? This seems like a bad idea. Once again. Yeah. I want to upgrade my relics really quick. This is pretty spicy, and I'm really fond of this. Corrupted Blinkstone. That is the Corrupted Blinkstone, right? It is the Corrupted Blink rune. It's a slight difference. I think Corrupted Blinkstone makes a little bit more sense, though. Yeah, we've lost that tower. We can't really do anything with that. More to the point. Leona's being super aggressive again. Which makes sense considering they're on Apophis. Can I save her life? I doubt this sincerely. Now she's dead. Good. Hi there. How you doing? Oh, let me just accidentally kill you. That's fine. Alright. I'm just going to tank this. Straight up. There we go. Now we have minions. That was literally Persephone's only option. It was a good move. Why we lure the Titan closer to their fountain, I don't know, but I think it's a very regrettable choice. There we go. I'll just slide into the ether once again. Now, as you can see, it's a lot more difficult to keep track of your allies when there's just so much room. It's kind of like Arena in that way, especially in the early game, where you're trying to keep your allies alive, but there's so much going on, and there's just so much space that it's very difficult to really work a lot, you know, with your allies. Coordination is a bit difficult. Eventually we did kind of gather up and coordinate, which is how we saved that. Like I said, teamwork is really important in Slash. I would say it's about as important as it would be in Conquest. Now, keep in mind also that as Ymir, I had a few more options in helping my allies with my wall, especially in terms of the jungle, cutting people off, things of that nature, and that turned out pretty well overall. Other supports would have a bit more problems. Now, as an example, Cthulhu, the enemy Cthulhu here, was clearly going aggressive in gameplay. Now, their build was actually really good, all things considered. Now, keep in mind that our actual composition here was 3 magic, 2 physical, right? Keep that in mind. I want you to keep that in mind. Let's admire Cthulhu. So we had 3 magic sources of damage. Myself, Morgana, and Tiamat. Now, Tiamat and Morgana really slap. I could have slapped, but I didn't. Now, Cthulhu opened with the Tainted Steel as his starter item. This made very little sense, at least from a passive perspective. When you keep in mind that the Cthulhu was looking to deal a certain amount of damage, especially in the early game, which is where Cthulhu really slaps. Cthulhu has really high flat damage, so Cthulhu does more damage in the early game, comparatively speaking. This makes a bit more sense from that perspective. Now, then went right on to Breastplate of Determination and working towards this. Now, there are 2 reasons for this, which is what the Cthulhu wanted, and this was a really smart pickup here. Cooldowns, because Cthulhu's autos are trash, and physical protection for tanking towers and potentially siege monsters, which do physical damage, I believe. So, yes, I mean, the glyph itself here is also quite potent for the breastplate as well. I personally would have built this 3rd. I think magic protections would have been a little bit more helpful, considering Morgana and Tiamat, and of course Ymir does have decent flat damage at the beginning. Stone of Gaia was next. Again, we're kind of lightening up on the magic protections. Pridwen, some magic protections, but still a heavy focus on physical. Amulet of the Stronghold, which is converting physical protections to magic protections, which makes a little bit more sense. And then finally, Contagion. Frankly, they would have been just as well off with good old... frankly, they would have been just as well off, with Pestilence. Now, I have a problem with Amulet of the Stronghold. I have a pretty serious problem with Amulet of the Stronghold. 10% of your physical protections are converted to magic protections. This sounds cool. It really does. Until you remember that that is 10 protections for every 100 physical protection you have. So he had 315 physical protections, excluding the conversion, right? So even if we assumed he only had 300 protections, that's 30 magic protections. So this brings it up to 85 magical protections. For 5 less protections, you get Pestilence and Anti-Heal, right? Pestilence has 5 less protections than Amulet of the Stronghold at maximum protections. Maximum physical protections still only gets you 5 more magic protections out of Amulet of the Stronghold than Pestilence does. Alright, this glyph passive is too weak. Straight up. This is why I went into Amulet of Silence. I, at the very least, could interrupt Cthulhu, Tyr, Ra, Persephone, whenever I got close enough to them. Scotty cared somewhat. It would prevent her from being able to recall Calder, if I'm remembering correctly. I believe she can't recall Calder or anything like that when she's silenced. I could be wrong. It's been a little while since I've played her, and I know the rework of how Calder worked made that a little bit confusing. I can't remember off the top of my head because I haven't played her as much since she got reworked. Even though she's a little better with the rework now, I can't quite remember. But with this, I was able to interrupt a lot of what the enemy was doing. And you'll notice I had maxed... I really need to readjust my build. Now, keep in mind here that I'm still readjusting the build in view of the glyphs, but I am overcapped on these, and I really didn't need to be, in all honesty. I really need to rework. My build was not great. You should not be overcapping your protections. You frankly don't need to overcap your protections, especially in Season 9 here. So, definite problem here. And I haven't quite figured out what I want to stick as more permanent items and what I don't want to stick on as permanent items. What I really probably should have done is gone into Pridwen and Toxic Blade. I think that would have been really helpful there. This will require some experimentation. The point of this episode was to demonstrate just how weird it can be supporting in Slash. There's a lot going on in Slash that you have to pay attention to as a support. There's actually more going on in Slash from a support standpoint than there is in Conquest. Think about it. In Conquest, you start in one lane and you only have to worry about your hunter. Then you move to mid lane, now you're worried about the jungler and the mid laner, the mage usually. And then you occasionally pop over whenever your ADC is having some problems and you go over there and you slap around some fools, right? You've got multiple concerns, but it's not super problematic. And then in the late game, you're looking after all of your allies, but they're all grouped up in most cases. It's not quite the same way with Slash, and there's a couple of reasons for this. First off, you're worried about Siege Juggernauts now. And especially with Ymir, who can wall these off and prevent them from advancing for extended periods of time, it's very important that you pay attention to Siege Juggernauts. And this is actually why Slash, in my opinion, is Ymir's best mode now. The fact that he can wall off a Siege Juggernaut, as you saw me do a couple of times this match, is potentially really huge. Especially if you can catch the Juggernaut early enough on its trip towards your towers. That's potentially massive. And not only that, but you'll also notice how many times I was able to cut enemies off completely in the jungle. Same thing. That is absolutely huge fight-altering stuff there. Right? That is a huge change in how the landscape of the battle was working in the jungle. And we did really well in our jungle fights, for our team fights in that game. And I personally believe that our first major jungle fight in their jungle towards the end there, about 3/4 of the way through, that was a huge turnaround for us as a team. That was really where we started to, I think that was really where we started to sort of have it in the bag. Before, we were having a really hard time in the early game because we were terribly uncoordinated. I was spread too thin as a support. And then we really came together as the match went on, and once we had that fantastic jungle fight, and I was able to really contribute in a strong way, my allies were right there with me, picking up everything I was laying down, and I wasn't even doing that great in that jungle fight, but Ymir doesn't need to. A good wall in a jungle fight, and I had 2 great walls in that fight, made a huge difference in that particular battle. And then after that, we really started to steamroll. Now again, putting up great walls means nothing if your allies aren't there to pick up what you're laying down, to take advantage of it. And the tier was fantastic in that fight, if I remember correctly. It was either Morgana or Tiamat that died very early in the fight, but the other one was really doing absolutely fantastic. Cleona was going in there. I think she was in the jungle for a little bit, and then she chased somebody out of the jungle and died. I can't quite remember, but I remember that the tier was really with me and really doing strong, using my walls to catch up to people and really slap them around without forcing them away from allies. It was really great. The tier was absolutely fantastic, by the way. Shout out to Elstred, the tier. That was great gameplay. Except for that early game. That early game was a bit rough, but again, we were all having problems on our team with the early game. That is not a tier issue. I was having problems. Again, I was spread too thin. I was trying to do too much at once. I really needed to pick somebody and just really try to stick with them. I should have picked a mage and tried to stick with them really hard, or Cleodna, who was being very aggressive in the early game, unnecessarily aggressive in the early game, but if I'd been there with her, she probably would have done a lot better. So that is partially on me. I should have picked a strategy and stuck to it, and I did not. And I actually want to kind of bring this back to when you're supporting in Slash, it is more important than in any other mode for you to pick a strategy and go with that. I did not pick a strategy fast enough, and that really hurt my ability to help my team. Yes, I recovered, the rest of the team recovered, that's nice, but I wasn't I didn't go in there with okay, I'm gonna try to keep this person alive so they can get really beefy and we can steamroll or anything like that. I did none of that. I was trying to do everything at once. You really can't in Slash. Again, your teammates are spread out between 2 lanes and a really wide jungle. Not necessarily a long jungle, but a really wide jungle in terms of just how much of the map it actually takes up. I know the Conquest map is technically wider, but that's broken up by the lanes. In Slash, it's just this elongated stretch that's really, it's almost literally half the map, right? So in terms of Slash, you've got this huge jungle area that you can't see, and your allies are fronting around all over the place. They're in the left lane, they're in the right lane, they're in the middle area. It's very tough to keep track of all of this. Siege Juggernauts, once one team or the other starts getting to their 10th or so kill, Siege Juggernauts start appearing. You have to keep an eye on those, you have to pay attention to those, you have to try to stop those. You have to defend your towers, defend your allies. It's just way too much. You have to decide, okay, how am I going to approach this? This episode was a fantastic example of what happens if you don't go into a Slash game as a support not knowing where you're going to go with it. I knew I was going to be playing full support. That's all I knew. I didn't pick a plan. I didn't create a plan. I was pretty aimless at the beginning there. Eventually I settled in on trying to help Cleodna. I mentioned this, that I needed to help the Cleodna. She was being crazy aggressive. And the tier just kind of followed up with that. The tier just was right there with me, picking up the kinds of crowd control I was laying down. It was fantastic. But I wasn't really starting to do well until I picked a plan, and then I started making my comeback with the rest of the team. But it's very important. You've got to analyze the situation faster than I did in this episode and figure out, hey, who's going to need the help? And sometimes you can't formulate a plan until you've seen how your allies react. Once that Cleodna went in and died, I should have been like, alright, she's aggressive, understandably. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not necessarily a criticism of the Cleodna. She was an assassin, she needs to be aggressive. That is how assassins play. And in Slash, like I mentioned in the previous episode when I was playing Kepri and I was just offering my thoughts on Season 9, you really feel genuine assassin gameplay in Slash, and that can really get in your head and get you carried away. Trust me, I've felt that. I've played assassins in Slash, obviously very recently, and I had a grand old time, but the temptation is there. So I'm not criticizing or blaming Cleodna. Cleodna was appropriately aggressive. I disagree in the early game that she was too aggressive in the early game, in my opinion. But I understand that as an assassin, she needed to be playing aggressive, and I should have been sticking with her to mitigate that, to help her get back out of danger. And I didn't pick that fast enough. I didn't stick to that plan. I mentioned it, but I didn't do anything with that information until later on in the game. But yes, once you see how your allies are reacting, how your allies are fighting, in the first, I would say, 3 minutes tops, create a plan, stick with that plan. Because if you don't, you're going to do what I did in this match. You fart around and you've got no clue what you're doing. Your teammates are scattered all over the place. Your teammates will gravitate to you as a support as the game goes on, if you're not working with friends or people you're in communication with. Alright? Just keep that in mind. There is absolutely... you could see it. You could see as time went on, as the match went on, allies tended to stick a bit closer to me. Tyr would occasionally wander off, Cleodna would occasionally wander off, but the mages made a genuine effort to kind of stick close to me. And that's part of the reason why you are the one to absorb the damage, to set up the enemies, etc. as a support. That's the way they should be. So my main self-criticisms for this match was, 1, my build is trash. I'm overcapped and I should not be. I'm still trying to figure out my new builds. So this is partially me adjusting to Season 9, and this is me partially kind of panicking because of my second error, my other second major error. I didn't pick a plan early enough in the match, and I kind of lost my way there. And you can see that it's very obvious in the early half of the game. I would say the early, 10 minutes? The first 10 minutes are absolute trash. Yeah, about 26. The first 12-ish minutes, I would say. If you go back and watch, I'm obviously very confused. I'm not sure where I should be going. I'm not sure who I should be helping. I didn't create a plan, and I didn't stick with it. And that shows. And that caused me to panic for my build, and I really need to kind of sort that out. I need to formulate plans faster than I've been used to. In Clash, you kind of just bopped between lanes and did whatever, but that's not really as possible in Slash because there's more going on now. There's Siege Juggernauts, there's, like I said, a wider jungle area. It's terribly messy, and I wasn't sticking to my guns, picking a plan, and going with that fast enough. But yeah, the Cthulhu. My only criticism of Cthulhu's build is Amulet of the Stronghold, and I think a lot of people look at this glyph passive and they say, "Ooh, that sounds cool." It's not cool. It's trash. Don't build Amulet of the Stronghold. It's really... I will say Vamon is the sole exception to this. Right? Vamon can make this work, theoretically speaking. I mean, you already want to be building physical protections on him anyways. Converting him over to magical protections is another thing entirely. And even then, it's still easier to just build Pestilence. Right? And he could have built Pestilence instead of Amulet of the Stronghold and built something else instead of Contagion. Right? It's the only criticism of Cthulhu I have. And that's because, again, not a lot of people have realized Amulet of the Stronghold is a terrible glyph. Buy Amulet of Silence. It actually is better. It's a lot better. But that's all I'm really going to say here. I did not play well this match. But that's okay. Because now you have a great example of why it matters for you as a support to build smart, to know what you're doing ahead as the battle forms. You gotta figure out how you're gonna play this in the first 3 minutes ish, 5 tops. But you gotta figure out who's gonna need your help, who you should be sticking with, who's gonna need the support, how you're gonna respond to siege juggernauts, everything like that. So use this as an example of how not to approach Slash, not just as Ymir, but as a support in general. Now, I'll probably be making a couple of extra Slash videos to kind of exemplify Ymir in a bunch of different ways. This was a really great example of what not to do. I need to lock down a bit more of a build. I will be going over that over the weekend. You'll still see Ymir Slash videos, don't get me wrong. But, you know, at this point, it's a build and getting into the habit of formulating a plan faster. Even in Conquest, you don't necessarily need to formulate a plan that fast, because in duo lane, you need a duo lane plan, and then you switch to mid, you need your mid lane strategy, and then you need your late game, what am I building in late game kind of strategy. It's a totally different feel, and even in Clash, again, it was less complicated in Clash, right? So, and in the old Siege, the jungle was a bit painier to get through, and ganks were less common, but that's really not the case anymore in Slash. So at this point, it's just a matter of me forming the habit of creating a plan faster than I'm used to, and that's mostly habit, and nailing down my build. I've almost got it correct. You can see where I've almost got where I need to be with my build. I'm overcapped here, but I have a really great balance of protections, and I was really tanking a lot of damage in the late game, which is exactly what you want to be doing. I just need to fine-tune it so I'm not overcapping both my protections, which is obviously not great. But with that being said, thank you all very much for joining me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, or requests, please leave them down in the comment section below, and thank you all very much for joining me, and have a great 24 hours.